If you live in one of 17 states, your charitable food pantries, they're in line to share more than 53 million eggs after the U.S. Department of Justice announced a pending settlement with 3 major egg producers, alleging they manipulated egg prices. Welcome back to the States. I'm Greg Bishop. Well, inflation's definitely taken its toll. There's no question things have increased in price, and you saw a lot of that during the peak of COVID, following various different types of government programs with taxpayer subsidies, and prices continued to increase overall 9+%. And while the peak of COVID inflation is still somewhat fresh in everyone's minds as they go to the store each and every day, there's still other things that are inflated, possibly pushing that price higher, including gas prices. AAA places today's average at $3.79, and while that's down from last month, it's up from last year. Again, elevated energy prices could push inflation higher, but inflation was already an issue heading into last year and heading into this year. Now, on April 16th of this year, the issue of egg prices was pretty pronounced. U.S. Representative Andy Harris, during a House committee hearing with the U.S. Department of Agriculture as the witness and testifying, well, he laid out the cost of eggs then and now.
As we recall, at the end of the Biden administration, egg prices were over $5 a dozen. Today, egg prices were half that amount, and where I shop, it's $1.66 a dozen.
That's right.
Overall, according to USDA, food prices increased a staggering 9.9% in a single year under the Biden administration, the fastest increase since 1979. The Trump administration has successfully prioritized efforts to tame food inflation to be in line with historical norms. Yet a new baseline of higher food prices was set by the previous administration that continues to plague consumers, and it will take time to overcome.
Now, that time continues to tick on as consumers see that price of eggs fluctuating. I've seen egg prices as high as $8 for a dozen. Lately, I've seen egg prices as low as $2 a dozen. But during that hearing back in April, U.S. Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins, she said that the agency's continuing to spend big to help combat one particular nuisance for egg producers.
We announced about a year ago our billion-dollar plan to combat avian flu and bring egg prices down. That plan has worked. Based on and compared to this time last year, HPAI cases are down 61% across the country. For those of you that are representing poultry in your states, that's a really, really big number. The number of birds is down 46%. And of course, the cost of eggs, the wholesale cost of eggs is down 90%, retail closer to 46%.
Now, inflation may not have been the only thing impacting the price. Back in April 2026, a House committee marking up an ag bill, also dealing with rural development and the Food and Drug Administration. You had Arkansas U.S. Representative Steve Womack raising concerns about regulations on egg producers. Again, this is back in April of this year.
Now, currently, due to an FDA rule finalized in 2009, commonly known as the shell egg rule, these surplus broiler eggs must be discarded due to the lack of immediate refrigeration. Now, just think about that. Hundreds of millions of eggs discarded as a result of this rule. It completely disregards the difference between table eggs, which are raw products that need refrigeration, and breaker eggs, which are pasteurized and safe for mixing. Because of this misguided rule, chicken farmers throw away nearly 400 million perfectly good eggs each year. To add insult to injury, table eggs that test positive for salmonella are allowed to be sent to a breaker facility to be pasteurized and then mixed into these grocery products. Yet surplus broiler eggs that are salmonella negative are not allowed to be sold to breakers just because they weren't refrigerated. This double standard didn't make sense when it was implemented, and it doesn't make sense now.
You're learning a lot about eggs, more so than you probably wanted to, but was there more to this story about the price of eggs, more so than inflation or government regulation? Were the prices of eggs being exaggerated or manipulated behind the scenes? Lost in the shuffle heading into the Independence Day holiday weekend may have been the story. The U.S. Department of Justice announced a settlement in a case that they brought against several egg producers for allegedly unlawfully coordinating the manipulation of egg prices. This came out just before the weekend, with the DOJ saying they filed in U.S. District Court in Iowa the complaint that alleged Cal-Maine, Hickman's, and Versova alleged that they coordinated artificially inflate the daily quotation of the Urner Berry publications. Now, what is that? Well, it's a market reports company that looks at different types of egg prices in grocery stores, restaurants, and others, and how they pay for eggs nationwide. Now, every year, there's billions of eggs that are sold with prices based on the particular price quotations that this publication puts out. Now, the complaint from the DOJ that alleges defendants conspired to inflate that price quotation by agreeing to submit a large number of bids, caused multiple defendants to bid in order to signal the prices that a diverse set of market participants needed to buy eggs. They submitted a large number of bids in the hours leading up to the publication, and submitting bids that were unlikely to lead to executed trades. Plus, they would execute trades at premium prices. So the DOJ's complaint also alleged eggs prices, they dropped significantly from their peak after the defendants learned of the department's investigation and were instructed to preserve documents way back in March of 2025. Now, Associate Attorney General Stanley Woodward said no product more quintessential represents affordability than the Americans paying for eggs. These actions prove this department's continued commitment to protecting competition and providing real relief for everyday Americans' pocketbooks. Now, this is just a proposed settlement after the DOJ filed that lawsuit in federal court. And if the settlement is approved by the courts, then it'll prohibit defendants from communicating with competitors regarding bidding and strategies and prices, timing, and a variety of other factors. It'll prohibit them from communicating together regarding certain information about bids, prices, and other things, agreeing with competitors on the number of pricing or other terms for these different types of bids. And it would also prohibit communicating with competitors regarding bids on transactions that are not based on legitimate business needs. Further, this particular settlement continues to give some relief with the prospect of getting settled by the courts and 53 million eggs that are going to be donated by these three different providers. Hickman's will be providing 3 million eggs, and adding on to that, 250,000, so 3.25 million eggs to different food banks. Versova, they're going to be donating 20 million eggs to food banks. And Cal-Maine, they are going to be providing 30 million eggs to food banks all across the country. But it's only in these 17 states. You've got Arizona, California, Colorado, Connecticut, Florida, Hawaii, Iowa, Maryland, Minnesota, New York, North Carolina, Ohio, Pennsylvania, Texas, Utah, Vermont, and Wisconsin. They all joined the DOJ in that complaint against these egg producers. It's interesting to hear more about eggs as we continue to wake up each and every morning. I have at least a couple of eggs, and I imagine that food banks on the other end of that $53 million egg donation, rather 53 million eggs, not dollars, it's an excellent and exactly what they need. It's existential time with inflation, other different egg puns I can work in here about exaggerated prices. So I had to get some of those puns in.